today we will start with our third unit, that is construction techniques. And just to give you some glimpses, I have inserted some picture at the front slide itself. So these are some of the techniques that we are going to study, cover under this unit. Now, the one you can see at the topmost, that is you are having a ship kind of a thing, and it's throwing some kind of soil. So that's the photo of a dredging. Okay. So in the bottom picture where you have this pump kind of thing, borewell kind of thing, so that's the dewatering which is going on for the site. And here the smallest figure that you see on the right side, this one. So it's a construction of a diaphragm wall. So these are some of the techniques that we are going to cover. Other techniques are grouting or prefabrication, then underwater drilling and blasting. So these are some of the techniques that we are going to cover in this third unit. Now these techniques are selected at the random, you can say, or some of the critical or some amount of complication you will get in these techniques, okay, because the other techniques are covered in tunnels and docks and harbors and all that. So those techniques which are not covered in railways or tunnels and docks and harbors, those are included in this third unit. So you will get that. And some basic techniques also there, like dewatering. It is a basic step that when you excavate and you encounter a water table, before laying the foundation, you need to remove the water. So for that, you should be knowing that what are the methods. Okay, though you are not a mechanical engineer, we are not expecting that a civil engineer should know the working of a pump or all its technical details, but you should know that which method you can apply or which type of dewatering method you can apply for your site conditions. So that kind of a perspective is attached for the civil engineering students. So before moving to the actual construction techniques, okay, so this picture sort of transparent, I have made it. So this picture, what you see in the background, it is a picture of construction of Burj Khalifa, the tallest building right now on the Earth, surface of Earth. So on the right side, if you see, it's a team of three people. They're standing in front of a pump, and this is a concrete pump. And if you read it here, it's reading that world record for pumping at a height of 606 meters. So this was one of the record that was made during the construction of Burj Khalifa, that at the highest, or this was the what you can say benchmark till now, that up to 600 meters or so concrete was pumped previously before Burj Khalifa construction, and during Burj Khalifa construction, obviously it surpassed the 606 meter also. So now I have included this slide just to discuss this small topic, that what is the necessity of mechanization in civil industry. Okay, now if I ask you what's the need, so you will have a lot of answers. Yeah, I'm very sure, because it's not like it's some technical question I'm asking, but in general, mechanization is nothing but the use of machinery to perform some task. And if I ask you what is the necessity of using machines in construction, so I'm very much sure that all of you will give answers such as speedy construction, then saving time. It's one and the same, speedy construction and one saving time. But saving material, saving the labor hours, okay, maintaining the accuracy or inhibiting the accuracy in your construction, okay, maintaining the quality. So all these are related, or all these are the reasons why mechanization is necessary. So the same I have just included here. So it's nothing much of a thing to explain, that you can work speedily and in time. Material can be handled with these large quantity, okay, like this concreting one. So for a huge slab of one of the floors of Burj Khalifa, suppose you have to do concreting, so the amount of concreting is too large, or quantum is too much, and obviously manually you can't do it. You can do it, but it's not feasible economically and also a challenging one. So large quantity of material, it can be handled using the machines. Then complex problems which are there in civil engineering construction. Okay, so those can be managed very well with mechanization, like you have to use some high grade material or some very lightweight and sophisticated or delicate or brittle material. So in that also machines play a very vital role. And then to maintain high quality of standards, as I told you, to achieve a quality in your construction. And then to optimize the 3 M's of construction, that is manpower, material, and money or finance. And in case there is a shortage of skilled labor, nowadays whatever pandemic situation we are going through, so you can see some scenario at some construction sites that due to shortage of laborers or unavailability of laborers, the camps have been or the construction has been halted. So if this happens to a construction project which is of a large scope, something like a Pune Metro, you can say. So there obviously you can't wait for the labor. So there you can use mechanization, and obviously it is used. You have seen it. So this is about the necessity of mechanization. So coming to the construction techniques. Now the first photo that you had seen in the title slide, so same is appearing here. So from here we'll be starting our first technique, that is dredging. Now dredging, if you have heard it, you know it, but if those of you who have not heard it, dredging is nothing but it is a process which is used in our construction industry, obviously, where we displace some material, a solid material, from its original position, and then we transport it and we either dispose it of or we relocate it at some new location. Okay, so that second one is also something which is used nowadays. So what I am trying to say is, it is a process which is involving movement of submerged material. Okay, so basically whatever material you are about to dispose, that is somewhere underwater. It might be an ocean, sea, river, lake, pond, or a water canal, anything. It can be anything which is submerged underwater. Okay? And that material you have to move either within water, from one place to another within the water itself, or you have to remove it outside the water. And you do this by using obviously some special instruments. So this is the technical or theoretical definition of dredging. So that's why I have included a photo. What you see here, this photo is of during construction of Palm Islands in Dubai. I'm sure most of you have heard it, or as a civil engineer you must know that there is something called Palm Islands in Dubai, which is nothing but man-made islands. Man-made as in there was just water everywhere. It was in middle of a ocean, and then they used techniques so that they prepared a piece of land, different pieces of land in shape of a palm tree, and that was called a Palm Island. So this photo is during the construction of Palm Island, one of the segments. Yeah. So the Palm Islands, they were totally prepared, or that pieces of lands that were prepared, they were prepared using the dredging techniques. Okay? So that is when this part comes into picture, that moving the submerged material. So submerged material is, what they have done is, whatever is the sand or the material which is at the bed of the ocean in that area itself, so they have excavated it, okay? And then they have transported it from the bed of the ocean to the surface, and they start just dumping it on like this. Okay? So it forms a sort of hillock form of a thing, or they dump it in the shallow waters. So it goes on raising the land level, and then it surfaces as a small island. Okay? So in this case, or in the case of that Palm Islands, the water or the submerged material which was inside the water, it was displaced from one place and it was taken outside water and then dumped over the water surface, and using special instruments. So you have a lot of special instruments and different techniques or methods in dredging itself. So that we will see in the further lectures of this unit. So for now, I hope you have understood what's a dredging. So it's clear from this picture. Now this picture, as I told you, it is one of the method that the submerged material is used again for some other purpose. In this case, for preparing that island, it is also known as reclamation of land. Again, if you have heard this term of, or not, so it is called reclamation of land or reclaiming the land. Okay. Those of who or many of you might have heard this, that Mumbai, the capital of Maharashtra, so that is also built on this reclaimed land. So initially, long back before even the Britishers, Mumbai was not a complete piece of land, but it was comprising of very small islands. And then those islands were connected together and a big piece of land was made by just this dredging technique itself, that the material from the nearby water areas, it was excavated and it was dumped so that all the islands are joined and then you get a big piece of land with that we call Mumbai. So that is also on reclaimed land. Most of the Mumbai is on reclaimed land. And then the vessel which is equipped to do this function, that is excavate and move your soil, that is called a dredger. So in this case, what ship kind of thing you see here, okay, so it's a ship in this case, but a more technical term, it is a dredger. Okay. So it has capabilities, or it has what you can see on the surface. It is just one part, but another part of it is submerged inside water at the bottom, where it has a long pipe and all that, and a cutter which goes deep inside the ocean, and then it cuts the ocean bed or seabed, whatever it is, and then it transfers it through the pipe to this surface of the ship, and then one of the pipe or one end of the pipe, it is throwing that same material on this or in this area to form a artificial land or reclaimed land. Okay. So this is one of the example, Palm Islands in Dubai. So there are a lot of examples. Mumbai is one example of reclaimed land. Similarly, there is a Hong Kong International Airport. So that is also built on reclaimed land. Many of the small areas around Hong Kong and Japan itself also, they are made of reclaimed land. So this is the dredger that you see in this picture. And again, the objective of that dredging, if I have to write it down, so it is to maximize the depth of water. Okay. So not only dredging is used if you have to reclaim a land or prepare an artificial piece of land, but dredging is also used if you have to increase the depth of water. So now a good example of it is, you all know Ganesh Talav, the lake which is near our college. So there, if anybody have been there recently, it's just after the first lockdown was lifted in June or so. So if you have been there in June, so due to that lockdown period, there was no maintenance work at all for that lake, and during that period, a lot of weed and grasses, they grew over that surface, and also a lot of sedimentation was there and a lot of deposition was there in the lake. So the whole lake was covered with almost mud and weed and grasses. So for that, what they do, weed and grasses, you can just cut it off and remove it, but the mud which is there due to sedimentation, so you have to remove that. In Marathi we say गाळ काढतो आपण, विहिरीतला गाळ काढतो किंवा तलावातला गाळ काढतो. So that process is nothing but, in English it is called dredging. So whatever is the material at the bottom of the pond, in this case, or lake, so that was excavated or it was removed, and then it was disposed somewhere. So it was either used for some other purposes or it was thrown away altogether. So that is also one purpose of dredging, that you need to maximize the depth. So now if you see Ganesh Talav recently, in couple of days if you have seen, so now you can see water, clear water, no mud at all. So they have increased the depth. So due to sedimentation, the depth was decreased and it was covered with mud. So that has been removed. So this same thing can be done if you have an inland water system, the one which we lack in India, but mostly in abroad, you have a large, in many countries, you have large networks of inland waters. They use rivers and there are small streams or artificial channels for navigation purpose. So in that case also, due to sedimentation, the depth goes on decreasing, and ultimately you have to remove that material is helpful dredging. One more application of the dredging is you might have heard it. So in dams are man-made structure. Okay? So we are obstructing the flow of river, and when we obstruct the flow, the river water, it comes to almost a standstill, and whatever is the sediment it is carrying, it deposits in the dam itself or in the reservoir, not the dam, deposits in the reservoir. So ultimately, after a few years, what happens is the capacity of that reservoir, it goes on decreasing, because below some depth, it is now the water has been replaced by the solid material which has been deposited. So in dams also, you require a regular dredging operation so that sedimentation is removed, and then you get to utilize the full capacity of your reservoir. So these are some of the applications of dredging. Now, actually coming to the process, what actually dredging involves. So you can break it down into 3 small steps. The first step is called a pre-treatment. Okay, we are going to see each step in detail. Just to introduce you to that term or that step, I have shown this slide. That first you have a pre-treatment, then you have extraction. Okay. Then extraction means, obviously from the name itself you can guess that whatever is the material that we need to transport or remove, that is the process of extraction. And then third is the process of disposal, that whatever is the material, either if we are using it for some other purpose like reclaiming land, so we use it there and there itself, or if it is a disposal, or like in case of dams, that whatever is the sedimented material, so we just remove it and then we dump it somewhere in the dumping yard or for earth filling or like that. So that is disposal. Okay. So the picture you can see here, that is a part of a disposal. So it is whatever is the dredging material, it is just disposed of somewhere in the open land or barren land. And also remember that dredging material, though we are saying that we are excavating a solid material from the under the surface, or which is submerged, but that submerged material, though it is solid, when you excavate it and when you transport it, along with that solid, a lot of water also comes into that process. Okay? So at disposal, you can see it's sort of a muddy slurry, you can say, or muddy water. So that is also one thing to note, that if you have to dispose that dredge material, you have to be sure that that water in that disposed material or that dredge material, it will not cause any ill effects or disturbance to the adjoining areas. Otherwise, if you think that okay, dredge material will be only solids and I can easily dump it, so that's not the case. So in that case, either you drain off the water in the water body itself, and then you just separate out the solids and dump it. So these are the 3 main steps for your dredging process. One is the pre-treatment, second is the extraction, and third is the disposal. Now just we'll see each one of it in a bit detailed way. So pre-treatment, you can say, obviously pre-treatment is nothing but, from the word itself you can say that before you start on the actual dredging, you have to treat that surface which you have to dredge. Okay, so for example, here I have shown at the bottom that this brown surface, brown irregular shaped surface, what you see, that is, I have considered a bed of an ocean or a sea or bed of any water body. And then if it is extremely hard and extremely stiff kind of material, okay, extremely stiff soil is nothing but if there is sedimentation and that water body has been there for thousands of years. So that sedimentation, you have studied in geology also, that sedimentation, it forms layers over layers and layers, and due to that the overlying layers, they apply some pressure, and due to that, that soil, it becomes very stiff. It becomes almost stiff as a rock. Okay? Or either you can have a hard rock, which is extremely hard to excavate. So in that case, what we do is we do some pre-treatment. Might be that we drill small holes into this bed, and then we inject some chemical Okay, so that becomes a chemical pre-treatment, or type of pre-treatment is chemical in that case. Just injecting some holes and random holes, and then treating it with some chemical or pouring in some chemical which will just loosen up that hard rock or loosen up that stiff soil. Or you can just use some mechanical method. Mechanical method is again drilling, and suppose drilling in such a way that you drill very small holes in it, okay, all over the surface, or might be even blasting if you have to undertake. So that also comes under this mechanical pre-treatment. So basically this pre-treatment involves anything which will allow you to loosen up this extremely hard rock or stiff soil a bit. Okay, if not, we are not intending that it just loosens up and then disperses into the water. We don't want that. We just want to loosen it up so that when we put a cutter at that location, so that cutter will be able to easily cut that material. Okay, so no extra force will be required. So that's why the pre-treatment comes into picture. So it is applied both to the rock as well as soil. I've told you in what case it is applied to a soil, which is an extremely stiff soil. So it is applied in that case. And it is separate from the actual dredging operation. So dredging is different, but before that you have to just pre-treat the surface. Sometimes, not always pre-treatment is required, but in this such conditions, extremely hard rock and stiff soil, you require that pre-treatment. So this is the first step of your dredging operation, that is pre-treatment. Then we start with the actual dredging, and the second step which comes into picture, that is extraction. Extraction is obviously, from the name itself you will understand it, that whatever is the material that we are intending to shift, that we extract, take it out from its original position, and then also we have to transport it. So extraction process itself, it consists of at least two operations. Okay, so the primary operation, if you say, so that is disintegrating the or dislodging the soil or the material, not soil always, or the material also. It can be a rock also. So dislodging and disintegrating that material is the primary operation. So as in the top figure you can see, this is again a dredging operation which is done for a lake in a forest. So that lake has been filled with all kinds of sediments, and they are just removing it with the help of an excavator. Okay. So it's a bucket which is attached to the excavator. So they are, in this case, what they are doing is they are dislodging the soil over here. And then the secondary operation will involve to move it. Okay. So now, as it is a soil, almost solid with some water, so you can move it with this help of a dumper. Okay. But if it is a dredging work in oceans and seas, so there a lot of water also comes into picture, as I told you. So in that case, the movement of that extracted material, it is quite a bit of issue. Not issue as such, but it is quite a bit of difficult task rather than this one. So there, then you have to lay a pipeline, and then you have to transport that material over there. Okay. So that is the second step of your dredging, that is extraction. And this extraction or this disintegration or dislodging, it can be done either mechanically or hydraulically. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to dislodge this material. If it is a soil, we'll dislodge it. If it is a rock, we have to disintegrate it. Okay. So that disintegration and dislodging, it can be done either mechanically or hydraulically, and that's the basis of our classification also of types of dredging. So two of the classifications are mentioned here itself, that either you can have a mechanical dredging or a hydraulic dredging. Okay. So that we are going to see in further lecture. And then the last one, or the third step of your dredging, that is the disposal. So as I told you, disposal, it depends what is the use of that material or why you are dredging it. If you are dredging only because you have to increase the depth of that water body, so then you have to dispose it somewhere to another location where there is a need of, suppose, land filling. Okay. There is a location where you need to fill the land, and at the same time you have started your dredging operation. So you can just remove most of the water from the dredged material, and then you can just dump it into the land. So the second figure on the bottom, what you see, the double tick one, so that is the one of the method where the dredge material is just carried into trucks and trailers, and then it is just filled into the land. So this is the landfill area. So they have to increase the level of this land. So they are just dumping it, and if you see, it is sort of mud, but water content is a bit less as compared to a mud slurry. Okay. And then eventually the water will be soaked by the adjoining area and also evaporated. So it will then become a firm or a stiff ground. Okay, so this method is generally suited, this landfill method, if you are disposing, or your landfill site, it is somewhere away from the local area, because that dredge material, it will cause some problems. Even if the water is, you have drained most of the water, some of the water which is percolating inside the soil. So if you have nearby wells or bore wells, so it can contaminate that wells and borewell water as well, because this material has been there at the bottom of the ocean or sea or water body for many years, and you have not actually tested it, that what is its content. So maybe some toxic content can go in form of leachate in your wells and borewells. Okay. So that's why in this picture also, if you see, adjoining there is only forest, okay, or vegetation. So that is the type of landfill that we want for a disposal of dredge material. And second is, if you see in the top figure, okay, so they are just throwing it or disposing it, it is in the form of slurry. They have not drained off the water as such into some, again, grassland or open land or marshy area. Okay, so in marshy area already there is a lot of mud and water, so you can just add into it. But while doing so also, you have to take care that the ecosystem of the marshy land or marshy area, it is not disturbed. Okay. So that's a different aspect of dredging. So we are studying dredging from the point of view of a civil engineer, where we as a civil engineer either want to reclaim a land, or we want to increase the depth of the water body. So that's why we are using dredging. But dredging has a lot of negative impacts as well on ecosystems, or it can have a lot of negative impacts. So that's why dredging is also one of the things or components which comes under the environmental impact assessment. So if you are going to have a dredging operation, so you have to submit a report first to Ministry of Environment and Forest in India or in abroad, whosoever is the ministry responsible for environment. You have to submit a proposal to them that, okay, this is the operation that we are performing, dredging operation. These are the tools, this much is the quantity we are about to move. And then this will not cause, or in what way it will cause effects to the environment, the flora and the fauna maybe. And then what are your measures? So dredging for civil engineers, it may stop only at that location where we are excavating the material and dumping it. But as a whole project, or for a project manager who is looking after that whole project, so for him, dredging will continue up till he provides all the measures to balance the ecosystem. Okay, so that's where the disposal part comes into picture, and it is very important that however you dispose, but it should be such that it is not disturbing the ecology or ecosystem of that area. Okay. So that's the procedure or 3 steps related to dredging. Very short, just a brief introduction. And then now we will start, or in the next lecture, we'll start with this topic in detail, that is types of dredging. For now, I am just introducing the topics that under dredging or the types. As I told you, 2 types were already mentioned, that you have either a mechanical one or hydraulic one. And then there is also a hybrid kind of dredging. So now what actually are these types is, you must have now by now understood that mechanical, hydraulic, from these 2 terms at least, that this is the way in which you are going to extract or excavate that material you want. Okay. So if you excavate it in using some mechanical tools or some machines. Yeah, machines are going to be used everywhere, but mechanical means, so that will come under mechanical dredging. And if you use water in your excavation, okay, now I know it's difficult to believe at the first instance that I will be using water to excavate material. Okay, if I say that, many of you might just laugh off, but if you think over it, if I apply some pressure, a very huge quantity of pressure to that water, so that water, you know, water has a capability of displacing even mountains, because you have seen that in case of landslides and all the natural disasters. So water has that ability. So if I'm purposefully applying some pressure to my water, so it can dislodge some material. So if that is the case, then that will come under this hydraulic dredging. Okay, and hybrid, obviously from the name again you can guess. So hybrid, it will be a combination of two different types, either mechanical and hydraulic, or hydraulic and some other concept altogether. Okay, so that will come under the hybrid kind of dredging. And then under each type, you have this three types that I mentioned. Now, dredging, it can be in lot of ways. Okay, not only these three types, but it can be a lot of other different types also. So in different books or on different websites, you'll find altogether different types. But these are the basic 9 that I have just taken out. And other than this, also, if you find, the methodology or the basic concept of dredging will be same, that you will be having a pre-treatment if required, you will excavate it, and then you will dispose it. Okay. So in mechanical, you have this three types: grab or clamshell type, ladder type dredging, or excavator dredging. In hydraulic, we will be studying cutter head, horizontal auger, and suction. And then in hybrid, we have airlift, water jet, and pneumatic. So these are the types of dredging that we are going to cover in detail in from the next class itself. So for now, I'll stop here. So if you have any doubts related to whatever we have discussed today, so basically we started with this. Then we saw just in brief what is mechanization and why do we need it. Okay, some obvious ones. Then we came to actual what is dredging. Okay, the definition and the dredger, what is a dredger, and why do we actually use this construction technique. So either to improve or increase the depth of your water body, or to reclaim a land. So in both the cases, dredging comes into picture. And then you have 3 steps in which you can perform this dredging. One is the pre-treatment, another is the extraction, and third is the disposal. And in pre-treatment, then it is nothing but you are just treating your soil or whatever is the surface so that it becomes a bit of a loose, so that when the cutter actually is used, it can be able to disintegrate or dislodge that material. Then you have the actual extraction, in which the material is disintegrated or dislodged, and then it is moved. Okay. And then you have a disposal, and then introduction to the types.